Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Anna and today it's second part of our video. Today we will have interview with organizer and representatives of the program Postcards to the Front. So it's Tamara, Alan and Peter. First question is what will happen to Postcards to the Front when the war is finished? Tamara, what do you think?
To be honest, I hope that the project will be finished too, because everyone will be happy and all the world will be full of unicorns and rainbow. However, I think because we already discussed it with Helen and Peter, that we will have a lot of veterans, like some people who came from the front, and they will also need some support. And I think that we will somehow change Postcards to the Front and make it something like Postcards to support Ukrainian defenders. Let's see.
Okay, Helen, what do you think?
Well, I'm in it for the long haul, and I think Tamara makes some really good points. The veterans will need some support. And Tamara's told us how many of the defenders, when they get their postcards, they share about those cards with family and friends. And that is an extension of the supportive words that we're sending to the defenders. I think your families in Ukraine, when you're coming out of the post-war or you're in the post-war times, you're all going to need some support. And I think when we support the defenders or the veterans at that point, we're continuing to support the families and letting them know that you're not forgotten. The best example of veterans being forgotten are the American veterans of the Vietnam War. And when they got home, everybody forgot about them. And that caused a lot of long-term trauma for those military personnel. And I don't think we want to see that ever happen again. So your military personnel, medics, everybody who's been at the front, and all of your people will still need to know that the rest of the world cares. So I, as an educator, I might even suggest we would expand it potentially to teachers who are going to be trying to help families rebuild their lives through the children.
So, and Peter, what do you think?
Well, Tamara's a very intelligent person, and I'll just follow what she comes up with. But just in regards to what Helen's saying, and I think people shouldn't forget that unlike wars that Australia and Canada have been involved in, this is a war on the home front. Once the war is over, the whole population is going to be suffering from stress and post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. So the whole population is going to really need kind words, because it's so difficult for us to imagine the horror of going through something like this. So I'm sure we'll be able to do something. We'll need to celebrate for a couple of weeks, and then we'll need to put our heads together and figure out what we can do to help the entire population.
Okay, and our next question is, tell the most heart-touching story that you faced during your work in this program and project. So, Tamara?
I have two stories very touching. First is one girl from Australia. She was signing a card with her parents. Peter told me this story, and this girl were signing the card, and she was not understanding what she's signing for. And this story is still touching me so much. She was asking her mother why should she write it, and after the explanation she wrote, like, seems like Russians don't understand what is the difference between the right and wrong, what is the difference between kind and evil, and this is what we feel every day here. We're like, neighbors, come on, like, seriously, don't you understand that there is some bad things to do and good things to do, and all what you do seems not right at the minimum. And the second was my brother. um Two my brother's cousins, they're on the front line, and one is on rehabilitation right now in our city. And I met with him and I gave him 4 cards. One was from Helen and 3 from all over the world. And when he took them, he looked and I was translating, like it was in English. And after I translated the first line, he started crying. And he's like 40 years old man, again, huge man, serious one. I even don't remember when I saw he's smiling in his life, but he was crying, and he took those cards and said, I will read them at home. That was so touching, so much, it means so much to me. And imagine that there are many, dozens, thousands of defenders who are receiving our cards, and maybe they're crying, with in a good way, because they finally feel the support.
Yes. So, and Helen, do you have some stories for us?
I think Tamara is really touching on the humanity of this situation. And I also want to highlight that, Tamara and her 2 friends who are getting these postcards to the front lines, this is not an easy thing to do. It's a complicated logistics of, collecting the postcards, packing them, getting them to the front lines, all the while bombs are being dropped down and trying to live a life. So it's not really easy logistics. So I just want to emphasize Tamara, who I was asking about her family and how her mother felt about her doing this project. And Tamara, I hope you don't mind me sharing this story, but I think it's worth sharing because all of you, even Hannah now, is exposed in a terrible situation. And each night Tamara texts her mother, and all she writes is one word, and the word has a question mark. Alive? And her mother writes back, alive. And the next morning they repeat, alive? Alive. I can't imagine living like that, worrying about my mother or about my daughter every single day, every single night, and whether or not they're going to still be there the next time I text. So you're all facing that, all of you. So it's not just about the postcards, it's about connecting with people on a humanistic level.
Yes, I think for people from another countries that don't know something more about war and life in this situation. So it's like when Ukrainians tell about how we live now, it's like, wow, it's really different. So, and Peter, do you have some stories?
Yes, I've got one, and this is like the one Tamara mentioned from a kid, because kids see things very simply usually. And I can remember one card going off, and this kid had obviously got a lot of advice from his parents, and he decided to give that advice to people at the front lines. And he just said, just remember to be confident. And I thought if I was in a frontline position and I got a card that said, just remember to be confident, I couldn't stop laughing. I just thought it was so funny. Just be confident. You've got no problems at all. Don't worry about the bullets, the bombs. Just be confident. So I think children don't have any of the filters that adults have. And I think some of their cards are really, really touching in their simplicity.
Can I also add a little bit, Hannah? I'd forgotten about, because Peter's talking about the children. I was in a grade 5 class, and there was a boy in the class who's from Ukraine and sheltering in Canada, and another boy in another class, also sheltering in Canada, who joined the class to write postcards. And we had a little bit of a discussion of Ukraine and the history and so on. And those two Ukrainian boys, for probably the first time in their time in Canada, they were the experts in the class. They knew what we were doing and they understood the meaning. And watching them, I asked them if they wanted to go around and help their friends, their classmates, write the postcards and learn to use the Ukrainian. And they went around the room like they were in charge of the situation. And they were 9 and 10 years old. And the power of that sense that they were doing something meaningful for their people with their peers, and their peers showing tremendous respect and admiration for them. And they finally understood what it meant to be away from home in the ways that they were away from home. Watching the interactions of the children really meant a lot to me as well. And it's a worthwhile reminding ourselves how kids kind of figure things out, as Peter said. They just narrow it down and they focus on what's really important.
Yes, I think for kids, especially for kids from another countries, it's like, wow, it's crazy to hear about this like in real life, not in stories that was in past or something like that. What do readers of Postcards to the Front tell you about why they want to write to Ukrainian defenders? So, Peter, you can tell us.
The story I get from most people is basically the reason I'm involved in this. People are really pissed off that Russia's invaded Ukraine. They think it's wrong. They think it's morally wrong, and it's so obviously wrong. Russia has invaded a country it recognised as a separate country in 1989?
1992, 91.
1992, yeah. So all this time it's been saying, yes, you're a separate country, you're not part of Russia. And then all of a sudden they decide, well, you are part of Russia because we don't like what you're doing as a separate country. And therefore we're invading you. And it's just not on from most people. Well, especially the people who send us postcards, and they want to support Ukraine because they realise what Ukrainians are facing. The fact that they're not only defending Ukrainian democracy, but they're defending European democracy, and also I think they're defending Taiwan, because I think China would have invaded Taiwan by now, except for the fact they saw what happened when Russia invaded Ukraine, and I think that sort of scared them a bit. So their motives are the same as mine, and I'd say everyone who are involved with Postcards to the Front. They want to tell people that they're backing them. They their stand is morally right, and people from around the world support that stand.
So I agree with Peter regarding the political situation in the world, like that we are, the border. Like, wouldn't Ukraine defend the Europe? Russia would be already somewhere they say they want to be, in Berlin. Every time, in every news, every day, they're like, we want to come to Berlin, but now Ukraine is here, and we are not giving them any chance to go. So what should I say? Like, Ukraine is not only the independent country that was invaded, it is the country that is helping others to not feel the war on their land. And that's insane that, every time there is such a negotiation, should the US or Poland or Germany or any other country give us the weapons, wouldn't you? This will happen on your land. They will not stop on our land. They want everything. This is a pure evil.
Yeah, this story is not only about Ukraine. It's touching every country in Europe and from another part of the world. So this is not like war only in Ukraine. Right now it's only in Ukraine, but can be in another countries that located near to Ukraine.
Ukrainians are fighting for the whole world, not just Europe.
I would like to go back, Hannah, to your question about why do I think Canadians want to write postcards to the front. And there's really two very distinct messages that come to me when I'm with people or when they write notes with their cards that come in the envelopes. The first one is that they really just want to show that they care. They have a need, a really visceral, internal, personal need to reach out and connect on a personal level. And a postcard, they know, can do that. They know they're not getting anybody writing back, but they do know that they are telling another human being, I care. And they need to do that. The second thing is, in Canada, we have a long history of Ukrainian residents in this country. And so our earliest settlers in the West who built our agricultural industry came to Canada in the late 1800s. So there's a long-standing Ukrainian culture within Canada, and it's not a apolitical, silent community. They've been involved with Ukrainian community globally as a diaspora, but also as a supporter of Ukraine all through the Euromaidan days and even into today. So it's not like we don't know about Ukraine and we don't know about Ukrainians. We do, and we're all connected somehow to somebody Ukrainian, whether it's in my case, I'm married to a Ukrainian, and both of us are children of immigrants. And in other cases, it's neighbors. Some of our most interesting cultural leaders have been of Ukrainian community. So it's not a silent, invisible community in Canada. And therefore, what happens in Ukraine, we know about and care about early and instantly.
Yes, as you say, that people write just 2 words, I care. It's just 2 words, but for our people, it's more important than just 2 words. It's give some motivation to be strong. So I think it's really important. What more can people around the world do to support Ukraine and Ukrainians? So Peter, what do you think?
I think they need to remind Ukrainians that they do support them. And I think the best way to do that is through more postcards. There are lots of charities that people are going through to get things to Ukrainians that they need. Some are focused on the medical side, some are focused on the refugee side, some are focused on the weapons side. They should just keep on supporting those things. But in terms of the people we deal with, we should get more postcards, because I'd like everyone who's ever been at the front lines to have a postcard that they can use as a memory of the fact that people were supporting them.
And Helen, what do you think?
I reinforce Peter's point. We're in the business of postcards, if you will. So please send more. Send as many as you can, as often as you can. Maybe start sending some Valentine's cards, sending like lots of extra love to all those defenders, because it'll take a while to get there. Couple of other things I was thinking that individuals can do, and that is, we need to write to our leaders. We need to let them know that we haven't forgotten Ukraine and that we support Ukraine, that we want our leadership, our politicians, our houses of parliament, our governments to continue to support Ukraine with the things that I can't send. I can't send weapons and I can't send medical equipment. So we need to continue that support. And by and large, I think Canadians are okay with that. But we need to tell our government so they know that the people want that to happen. A couple of other things that people can do, and they're very small, but they're helpful. When I'm buying postcards, I try to find businesses and support Ukrainian-based businesses. For the rest of the world watching this, Ukraine's postal system is working. It's a bit slower than at home because they're dodging bullets and mines and missiles and bombs, but the mail is getting out there. So you can support Ukrainian businesses. There are lots of great Ukrainian postcard shops. When you're doing that, you're also supporting Ukrainian artists. So if you're an Etsy shopper, for instance, have a look. There's many sellers on Etsy and other online platforms that are Ukrainian artists or that are raising funds for Ukraine. And you can also, I think people can, put that flag up on their lawn or a sticker on their car. I see lots of those. I have worn blue, yellow nail polish since the invasion. And when I'm walking around or standing at the grocery store or the post office or meeting my physiotherapist for the first time, they notice my nail polish and they say, "Oh, you support Ukraine." And then we talk about Ukraine. So Ukraine is on our minds all the time. And I think that those things, they're not tangible, but they are helpful, I think.
Yes, I agree with you. Like you say, in our Postcrossing community, it's amazing that we also can do something for Ukraine. Doing postcards, like our program, Postcards to the Front. That's really incredible that we can support our militaries with postcards. Like Postcrossing also help Ukrainians and for Ukraine. Okay, and Tamara, what do you think?
I want to say thank you for Helen, Peter, and people who are sending us cards for that. However, send us weapons, planes, drones. Please send us the weapons, because send us more to win faster. Because, my region, like 40 kilometers from me, is still a front line. I want them to go to their land, That's what I want. Just send us weapons, You will not be disappointed of how we are using it. So, and of course, cards. So it would be good if you sent weapon together with a card signed, for that.
I'm all over that one.
Thanks.
You have been getting some cards from children, and what do you understand about their reasons to write postcards? Can you give us some example about this story? Okay, Peter, do you have some story?
We've touched on this already, I think. But children see things very much in black and white, and they don't see all the complications that adults see. And going back to an example that Tamara gave, which is the young girl next door, whose mum explained to her what the war was about, and she wrote a nice postcard, and it contained the words, "The Russian people are so stupid, they can't tell the difference between right and wrong." And I mean, to me, that sums up the war.
As I mentioned in a previous conversation, visiting with children in a classroom where they are thinking about and writing the cards, you give a child a blank postcard, there's nothing on it, and you say, write to a defender of Ukraine. Well, it's a little more complicated than that. They need to understand a bit more about the history, and if it's done well enough for them to understand what is happening, they do understand, and they then find it very simple. They like to draw things like, Tamar kind of made a joke earlier about rainbows and unicorns, but they do. They like to draw rainbows and unicorns, sometimes dinosaurs, definitely sunflowers and other flowers, lots of hearts, and they write messages when they're looking for a phrase to write in Ukrainian. They seem to like the phrase, and I can't say it in Ukrainian, so Hannah, you'll have to say it, but it's "You are heroes." You are heroes.
We heroi.
Yes. And so children can see that they can look up to defenders who are defending themselves against bullies, and they see the heroic effort that's being made, and they're very sympathetic. And they also have these interesting phrases like, "You're doing a great job, stay brave, stay strong, I hope you get back to your family." I think that's the other final piece there, is they really feel for them missing their families. They can relate to maybe a parent not being there, and they know that all those children are in the country are without a parent, or maybe two, during these times. So there's an empathetic piece there as well. So they, I know it sounds really weird, but they do have fun writing the cards, but they're putting their heart and souls into them, and they're very present in that action, thinking about a defender who needs some joy in their life in that moment.
Yes, and I think when our militaries receive postcards from children, kids, it's like more heart touching, because like when small kids write you some like "be brave" or "you are heroes," that's like really heart touching, and of course important, because this postcard came from Australia, Canada, that located really away from Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's the case where most people on the front lines are younger. They have their own children, so they're away from their children, and they get a postcard from another child, I think it tugs at their heartstrings.
Also, I will share with you, there are two brothers in Costa Rica who reached out to us, and I think they reached out originally to Australia. I can't recall correctly, but they're sending their cards through Canada, and these kids, they've already sent over 60 postcards, and in their spare time, these two brothers sit down and they think about Ukraine, and it takes them a few weeks to put together a batch of cards, and they decorate them. The cards are beautiful. They're beautiful butterflies and birds and tropical images from the rainforest of Costa Rica. And so the cards have two sides that are joyful, these amazing, beautiful images, as well as their handwriting. And I hope the first few batches will land in tomorrow's mailbox soon. And just the color is so spectacular, but their messages are also very heartfelt. And this is a personal project two kids in Costa Rica have taken on because they just see this as an awful situation. Amazing, absolutely striking to me.
They're very bright kids too. They, for some reason, I know not why, but for some reason they can't mail directly to Australia. So they've used their Postcrossing contacts, and they sent the first lot of cards we got to a family in Germany and asked them to post them to Australia. So they're really, really bright little doers. I mean, I reckon 10, 20 years from now, they could be running Costa Rica.
Yeah, they're incredible. And one is probably an early teenage year, and the other one is probably around 9 or 10. So they're not grown men, they're kids who care.
And probably their parents are saying something because they don't have their own money, right, to send. So their parents are supporting them to send this card.
I think it's a grandfather who is supporting this project, because they write to me in their notes about their grandfather, and so they do have an adult who is probably educating them in some way. Definitely,
we need an article about them.
They also went to a postcard shop and bought all these postcards, and the shop owner asked them why they'd bought so many postcards, and they told him, and he gave them to them for free.
Yeah.
So there's some postcard dude in Costa Rica who's donating to the cause as well.
Yeah.
Did I
I will tell you, I'm in the process of interviewing them for the newsletter, so we'll hear why they're doing this in not too distant future.
Whoa, we need to send them free cards. Send me their address. I will send them free cards for free to sign.
Okay, you're going to be sending them a postal hug card for World Postcard Day as well. They're going to be on my list at the end of the month. So
okay, nice.
Yeah.
Amazing story. I didn't know. How did I miss it? I don't know. Thank you for sharing. Amazing.
Yes, that's really incredible.
Well, tomorrow, wait till you get the next few envelopes are full of cards from kids. You're going to just be blown away.
I also have my own vote. Like you guys say that your kids are usually, drawing some flowers and unicorns, rainbow, etc. We also have kids in Ukraine. People in Ukraine are also signing cards for Ukrainian defenders. So we have one special school. Even two schools with kids without parents who are signing a lot of cards for us, actually. they're sending like 300 cards once per 2 months, something like that. But recently they made something like a competition of a drawing, like who will draw the image for the front part of the card. And the thing, I even, maybe let's put some interaction to this call. I will show you the winners. So we actually made this drawings for our postcards to the front, and we printed them because these winners, actually I was not choosing, but I want to show that usually our kids are drawing another way. Look, this is
wow.
So this is like a defender, like the bombs, the rockets are flying here, and there is a family, and he's a defender. That's how our kids looks at that, Or we also have I like it a lot because this is what do I feel also about our defenders, Or this is a famous dog.
Oh, Petron.
Yeah, right. And he's
Really nice postcards.
Thank you. I also like this one. Yeah, this is a girl. Like the sunflower is something like an icon of Ukraine, like a sign of Ukraine, So when you see the girl surrounded by sunflowers, you know that she's Ukrainian. She's in Ukraine. That's true. We have a lot of sunflower fields, and she's like, she's handling this heart, like she's hugging the whole Ukraine like a kid. And also we have something like more, let's say, maybe simple, but it also has a meaning, like a heart,
Heartbeat. Yeah.
like a heartbeat, which is with the whole Ukraine, with Crimea. You see that this is the Ukraine, this is our heart, or we have also, this is something like a word map, which is like a lot of words, like this is Ukraine, this is our motherland, and a lot of different words that is all about what is the Ukraine for us. So we printed that. I took it today from the printing, and these are clean ones that we are going to share. So I wanted to say that these are kids' drawings, and our kids know that defenders, they are like strong big men.
Thank you so much for showing up these really nice postcards. And our last question for today is, why should people continue to care about Ukraine and Ukrainians and to do something to support Ukraine? Okay, and Peter, what do you think?
I can answer this very simply. It's a moral question, and the answer to it is because it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
I can't build on that. It's exactly how I feel as well. It's a moral question. It's what is right, and the war needs to stop.
There is a famous actually quote from the Second World War that was said that when they came to your neighbor, you were silent. When they came to another, your neighbor, you were silent. When they came to one more, your neighbor, you were silent. And when they came to take you, there were no one who can say anything for you.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that quote. It's a little different, but
sorry,
that's a
my English
well-known
is
quote.
not so much. I was
No,
trying to translate it so fast.
Absolutely. We can't remain silent. You're spot on there. And those postcards demonstrate that people are not staying silent. You know, we're not staying silent. We're not saying, you know, this is okay. We're saying this is not okay.
Yes, and as I say, postcrossing is, for many people, is not about like wars, but people can support doing these kind things to give some kind of motivation for our people, to give some kind of words that make smile or cry in good way. So I think it's important to do and continue do it day by day for our peoples in Ukraine, and not that right now in different countries, especially.
If only 5% of postcrossers sent a card to Ukraine, I can't remember how many millions of cards go through Postcrossing a day, but it's just phenomenal. And if anyone who sees this video who is a postcrosser, please just send at least one card to one of the 3 addresses that we will give you. There's Tamara's address, which is in Europe. There's Helen's address, which is in North America, and there's my address, which is in at least Australia and the South Pacific. Yeah, just send at least one and make a real difference.
I did some quick math while Peter was talking. So there's a little fewer than 900,000 postcrossers. If 5% of those postcrossers sent just one card, Tamara's mailbox would get 45,000 postcards. Tamara, are you ready? Are you ready for those cards?
Not enough. I'm ready for more, you know?
Tamara, you have to be reasonable. Remember, you wanted weapons as well as postcards. I was hoping that all 45,000 would come with weapons.
I will handle it. We have a proverb here that, our women can go through the fire, so, we are strong. Our men are mostly, and women also, sorry, I should mention also that our women defenders are also there, but I mean that women who are here are also on fire. They want to defend. So I will definitely have power to take weapons together. We're just a small amount of 45,000 of cards.
And it's all video for today. Thank you so much, Tamara, Helen, and Peter, for participating in this interview. And of course, I will leave all information, links, websites, addresses under this video. So if you like, if you want, you can send postcards to Helen, Peter, and Tamara, and then they will go to militaries in our country. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day and bye-bye.